How do we never reincarnate again?
How you pass determines where you go, and we can prepare for it, we can train for it. The usual scenario is that people gently lift out of the body, and so they by default go into the entrapment layers that takes them straight into the cycles of reincarnation again.
Isabella Greene, I'm so excited to have you back on the show. I'm already smiling. Welcome back to Passion Harvest.
Louisa, it's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you. I've read it. I'm so excited about your new book, The Hidden Truth About Reincarnation. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I've got so many questions to ask you. I've got the easy job since I'm interviewing you today, but I guess the question that was so profound, I mean, we had so many views from your interview and so many questions. How do we never reincarnate again?
Well, the updated version of this is we need to train for the moment of departure. As I have found out throughout the year since we spoke, that even the Buddhist tradition says that the actual departure, jumping out of the cycles of samsara, happens at the moment of passing. And how you pass determines where you go. And we can prepare for it, we can train for it. And this is what I currently teach. The general scenario, the usual scenario is that people gently lift out of the body and end up in the astral plane. And it's the same as astral projecting. And so they, by default, go into the entrapment layers, and that makes them reincarnate again. That takes them straight into the cycles of reincarnation again. But if you train now while still alive and develop the skill to direct your non-physical form out of the top of the head like a bullet, utilizing your Kundalini energy and flying out and bypassing all of these structures, you would literally land in the space that does not have any constructs and no entrapments of any sort whatsoever. And so the way you depart is something that determines whether you incarnate again or not, and we can train for it while we're still alive so that we develop a skill and we repeat this at the moment of passing. At the moment of passing will be very easy because the body would let go, and you just repeat what you've trained for. So in this case, we have a sure way out, and we can prepare for it while we're still alive.
Thank you. In your new book, you talk about the tunnel of light, and there's different tunnels. Do you mind just sharing a bit about that with the audience?
Yeah, the tunnel of light is the default scenario. Usually when people pass, there's a blast of white light, or there's a tunnel that quite literally vacuums them straight into the afterlife dimension. And that's where the whole game is set up. And they face the life review, and then they agree to come back to Earth, because that afterlife layer is set up in a way to open your heart and get you all soft and sweet and gooey and ready for suggestions from the archonic beings that are there, or the projections that are there, that give you suggestions. And so we agree to repeat this over and over. But the tunnels of light are present in the default scenario, and sometimes there are more than one. Sometimes I have seen in non-physical sessions that I did for people before. Now I don't do that anymore, but I used to do these sessions for people who were passing. Their relatives would reach out to me to ask me to direct them into the light, by the way, right? Make sure that they go into the light. And so I used to see that there would be one tunnel of white light. That's the generic scenario. Sometimes there were more than one. There were two, and the second one was of a different color, and there often were non-terrestrial beings present, because non-terrestrial beings also participate in our reincarnation cycle and in the matrix, in the entire matrix structure here on Earth. And then there were times when there were purple or bluish tunnels of light, and people speak about that on the internet. They say, oh, don't go into the white light tunnel, but go into the purple one. My suggestion at the present time, don't go into any tunnel at all, because it is a part of the construct and it's going to take you where you don't want to be if you don't want to reincarnate any longer.
So say someone's close to imminent death and doesn't have time to meet with you or do your incredible courses or read your book. What is your advice?
I think they might have to just face another incarnation then, but there's always time. There is always time. Of course, if they're passing tomorrow, then there is no time. But at least they can have an intention. If they just heard of it today and pass tomorrow, they can have the awareness and the intention, because that would carry with them into their non-physical awareness. The intention to not go into the tunnel of white light, and to direct themselves into the space path to the astral dimensions. But I posit that if they haven't trained, then chances are that they're not going to be able to do this, or if they are able to do this, they might find the humanness and starting to look for, oh, where did everything go? Where are the beings that everyone talked about greeting me? Where are my past on loved ones? And as they start looking for it, they're inevitably going to be pulled right back into the astral structures where they can have all that, but the end of that is reincarnating again. So I had a few students in my the Void Academy, in my online school, where they just took a ball and ran with it, and they started doing the practices intensely and did it for just 2 weeks. They pretty much just did all that. But if a person is ready to pass, they're probably of the age where they don't have much else to do, so they can just do that and dip a toe into what it is like. And some of these people found that they were not comfortable with being in the space of divine absolute, because it's a big, open, dark space. There's nothing there. But if you tune in, you feel the presence of everything, like the details, the physicality, the consciousness of the human, all of that is gone, but there is the consciousness of God there. There's the consciousness of the fabric of reality. And if you are not panicking and looking for where did everything go, where are my hands, or other things that people sometimes do, then you will be able to find yourself as a part of that, and that's the most incredible experience. And I speak from experience, because this is called the experience of the high samadhi. I call it the true void. And I have been having these experiences for the last 10 years. So I am very familiar with what I talk about, what I teach. So back to the person is about to pass. If they really want to check it out for themselves, Well, just sit there and do the breath work for 2 weeks nonstop, and then you might find yourself there. And the students that did that, that found themselves there, they were in their 80s, by the way. So it's not that you need to be strong and young and virile to achieve this outcome. The outcome is available. I don't recommend forcing it to get there in 2 weeks, because you need to prepare the mind, you need to read my books, you need to become aware of how it is, and what's waiting for you there. Most people experience the most blissful state. They just dissolve into that state of bliss and unconditional love. You become it. You don't feel it, you become it. But some people had an eerie experience, because some people who are really wired into the ego, mind, body construct were looking for, where did everyone go? Where did I go? And so that made it uncomfortable for them.
Thank you. You talk about the realms or archons, the layers around the earth. Can you explain that to the audience?
Yes, the earth is a part of the structure that we call the matrix structure. And that encompasses layers and layers of realities, physical and non-physical. Not only Earth plane, but also other planets that are physical, and layers of dimensions of the astral plane that are non-physical. It's all the same structure. And at the present time, I posit there are 12 dimensions of the astral that are all a part of the matrix structure. So there are layers and gradations. For example, you come out of Earth plane and you go into the afterlife dimension. And there you're told, okay, you graduated your Earth experience, which takes hundreds and hundreds of incarnations before they even let you, and then do that. And then they say, oh, you go now into this other planet where you're going to train people or souls for to pay off their cosmic karma or their planetary karma, or they will cross incarnate, go back to Earth, and then back to the same planet. And we have a very good example of that in Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi, which I love that book. It's a fantastic book. But when I started figuring things out, I started paying attention to what is said. And his guru, Sri Yukteswar, passed away and then came back to tell the story. And he told him that, oh, I'm on a different planet now where I'm helping others to pay off their karma. And they go back to Earth or they come back here, and it's just so beautiful. It's much lighter, but we're still paying off karma. And after we're done paying it off here, we're going to go to the next planet or the next layer where we're going to keep paying it off. So the whole system is set up like the Russian dolls. There is Earth in the center, and then we'll have layers and layers and layers. They repeat the same. So that's the 12 dimensions of the matrix, and the beings who set it up. So there are different theories now of how it operates. So the archons who set it up. Apparently, there was the main guy who is mentioned in the Gnostic texts as Yaldabaoth, and in the Old Testament as Yahweh. And apparently that person or that being had a crew of 144,000 souls, and or his type of beings who were helping him. And it was their idea to set up this kind of structure for sustenance, so that they could have energetic sustenance from the subject producing the energy that is called lush, and give them that life force. It's like food for their existence. But of course, there's a question, how many people pass on Earth every day? And they're always greeted by at least three beings, sometimes one, sometimes two, but mostly it's either one of three beings that give them the life review and know everything about them. How is that possible? How many archons are there? And so now there's a new theory, new enough for me anyway, that it's a simulation. It's a plasma technology. That's what David Icke tells us, that it's a plasma technology that is based potentially in the Kudalewski clouds, which is the plasma clouds of information. And that's called Akashic Records. And then that's an artificial intelligence, non-terrestrial artificial intelligence that can scan your consciousness or knows everything, or they have a database on you basically in these plasma clouds, if that's the clouds, or within the plasma technology, if it is the plasma technology, if it is the simulation. So whatever you see in front of you is a projection. It's a holographic projection, not the real being. And the projection depends on what you believe in. That's why always such a heart-opening experience, always such a match to your set of beliefs. Oh my God, I believed in Jesus Christ my entire life, and now here he is in front of me. I'm going to do anything and everything that he says. But that's a projection. So archons, according to the work of Paul Wallace, who is a phenomenal scholar, and he talks about that being presented in plain sight in the Old Testament, the creation of the human subject and the beings that all participated in that. So based on that, we can say that there was an original crew of the archons, and they control and influence our reality to this day in every level. But it's a small group, and the rest is just a representation or projection or the AI technology, like a simulation that is presented to every passed on person, the soul, once it comes out of the body. So that would be my answer. My very long answer is to who the archons are and how it's set up.
Thank you so much for that. So you've experienced a way how to bypass these 12 layers of the matrix or dimension straight to source or God or
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Should we?
have.
Yeah, sorry, please go on.
I have, and when I first started going out of body, and out of body experience is a very confusing term because it encompasses various forms of going out of body. So I first started going out of body in the same way as people talk about now, and that's astral projecting. You lay down, you vibrate out of your body, and then you are standing in your room looking at your body, or you can see through the wall, or you can fly through the roof, or you can end up in a different place within the earth plane. And by the way, that's the same way we pass. There's this Kirlian photography that has captured the myths, like the mist that comes up when the soul is leaving the body, when the person just passed on. And it's very slow. It's the same as astral projecting, and it takes you straight into the astral dimensions. So I did that, just astral projecting and exploring the realms of the structure of the simulation, till I hit the ceiling. You hit the ceiling where there's a good representation of that in the animated movie Soul, where he starts trying to get out, and it's like an electric fence around him, zzz, like buzzes around him. So it's kind of like that, but you can't really break through it. And in that animated movie, he breaks through it, but you can't really break through it. It's it's solid. It's a solid firmament. Not solid like a wall, but for a non-physical astral body that you are in that reality, it's not penetrable. So that's one way. And I did that for many years. So I got to see and know what's going on in the astral dimensions, in the astral plane, in the dimensions of the astral plane. And then 10 years ago, I encountered the yogic technique that gave me the access to the absolute, gave me the access to the energy, the fabric of reality. I call it the true void now, because there's a simulation of the void within the astral dimensions as well, and we need to pay attention there. But the true essence, the true fabric, and you fly out of the top of the head like a bullet, and nothing is in your way, and you utilize your kundalini energy like your rocket fire. And literally for the first time, and the experience is very similar to the rocket launch. You will shake, you will scream, you will sweat, you will feel like an explosion went off inside your head, and then boop, you come out of the top of the head, and you're in that space, and that takes you outside of the structures of the matrix. But there is nothing there. Like I said, it's the space of everything and nothing, the divinity itself, the unconditional love, the state of pure peace and bliss, and undescribable. There are no words to describe this unless you can only experience it through your awareness. That's it.
And this is the ultimate goal.
The ultimate way out of the structure that utilizes our energy for its own sustenance. Yes, I would suggest that that's that.
And when you refer to, popping out of your head and entering the ultimate void, it's through breathing techniques. Is that correct?
Yes, it
When we're
is.
when we're in the physical body.
Yes. And the reason to utilize the breath work and its advanced mystical yogic practice that is present in all mystical traditions, but in the old days, people had to prepare for 30 years before they were initiated into this practice, because it was considered to be out of reach for a common person, for any regular person. But now it's a different time, and that technique is within reach, and we can find it. And I first learned that in a variation. There are different variations. There's the Taoist variation of the cosmic cobra breath. There is the Buddhist variation. There is the yogic variation, the Kriya Yoga variation. There are different variations of this practice that is taught in various schools as well. Like Ramtha's School of Enlightenment was teaching a variation of this breath work. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches a variation of this breath work. I now teach a different variation of this breath work as well. And so the technique is available, but you just need to know how to handle the Kundalini awakening so that you don't freak out. And I speak about it at length. I dedicated an entire chapter in my book, Beyond the Trap, my second book, to Kundalini awakening and potential side effects and potential fears and all of that, so that the people can prepare their minds before they just hop in and start doing the breath work. Just starting to do the practice without this preparation is a mistake. And like I mentioned, a couple of my students found out the hard way that how unprepared they were. But I believe that all that's required is just the awareness of what's going to happen and how, and what kind of side effects you will have, and what kind of mind interference you will experience. And then after that, oh, you're good to go. And I also teach classes now on my platform, thevoidacademy.net, that I actually have two classes, one pre-recorded. I taught them live, but now they're pre-recorded, and one of them is about the side effects, all side effects you might experience, so that a person might prepare themselves, and then the mind interference, preparing for the void. So this minimal preparation is required for sure, but we don't need to spend 30 years before we start practicing.
Thank you, Isabella. I will leave a link below in the show notes for anyone that didn't get that. You sent me a question to say, does it make a difference when we transition from our physical body to say the words, I want to go home?
Yeah, that is not something that you want to do. This is something that, by the way, is in the Gnostic text. The Gnostic text suggests that when we face the archons and we face the tunnel of light, we say, oh, we are of source and we want to go home, and as if they're going to let us go. And a few people on the internet now are teaching that. They're saying that, oh, if you say that, then you're good to go. That does not work. If you're facing the archons, and if you are facing the tunnel of white light, there is no way they're gonna let you go. There is no way. You can be saying whatever you want, but you will be running circles until they find the weak spot, and then you're going to somehow, somewhere hesitate, and boom, next thing you know, you're in the system, because the system does not support getting out of the system, right? So the only sure way that I posit now exists is to learn how to, or just pave the way into as a fabric of reality outside of the structures, and then you just repeat it at the moment of passing. That's a no-brainer. So perhaps the question was, does it work if we do this? But it doesn't. That's what I really, thank you for asking that, because I wanted to address that. A lot of people confused about that. And the Gnostic texts, the Nagamari books that were discovered in Egypt in 1945, have the Gnostic Book of the Dead that talks about dealing with the afterlife dimension. And there's information there that is accurate, and there is information there that is disinformation or not accurate, such as, oh, just tell the archons you are of source and you want to go back, and they will let you go. I don't believe so at all. And there is not a single case of near-death experiencers who resisted the archons and argued with them and tried to back out and tried to not accept the offer, who succeeded. So, well, perhaps some people believe that they can succeed, and good for them, but they might find out the hard way. So to have a sure way out, just practice now and don't gamble with it. That's my suggestion.
So you're not coming back?
Not planning on it for sure. And it is such a incredible experience. My experiences have amplified since we spoke, and now I'm able to go into just withdrawing probably almost the entire pranic force out of my body, and the body stops breathing and the heartbeat becomes undetectable. It seems like the heartbeat stops. I don't know, no one is there checking my pulse, but and then I'm just not there anymore. And so that is, and this state that
That's years of
accompanies that,
practice.
that's years of practice, you're right. But that what I'm practicing for is to facilitate my own departure when I'm ready through this practice. That's
Yes.
years of practice. So it's happening. It's happening slowly, but you don't need to do that. The point that I'm driving here is that there's no better, more incredible, more blissful, more peaceful state of being that you can possibly experience than immersing yourself back into or returning yourself back into the fabric of divinity. And goodness, is it worth it? Yeah.
I'm inspired. Can I just ask you, how many hours a day do you practice your breath work?
Not during the day. We need to do this in the middle of the night during the magic hours between 1 and 4 a.m.
You talk in your
And
book about mid-sleep meditation. Is that?
yes,
Yes.
that's that. During the day, the chemistry in the brain and our left brains are active, and the chemistry in the brain is going to interfere with everything because the body serves the matrix, and the body is going to direct your attention to your to-do list during the day, and it's much more challenging to let go and stop focusing on our survival. As soon as the daylight hits our eyeballs, that's it. We're in the wrong chemistry for this process. So nighttime, I get up. Nowadays, after 10 years, I do an hour a night. But when I was starting and when I was breaking through the barrier, I sat regularly for 2 hours a night. So I will do one round of breath work 15 minutes before. So first 15 minutes you do the breath work, and then you sit for an hour, and then you do another 15 minutes of breath work, and you sit for another hour. And there were times when I did not have any plans, and I would do 3 hours, like 3 rounds of that. So I was really trying to get out. Uh, but within about a year of doing 2 hours a night, I got out. I got out of the body of the structure, and I experienced had the first experience. It doesn't mean that it has to be that way for everyone. Like I mentioned, some people within 2 weeks manage to dip their toe into the fabric of divinity. Some people take a month, 2 months, 3 months, but within a year, I'm pretty sure that the person, if they are dedicated, I'm pretty sure that within a year they're going to achieve or get there within a year. Yeah.
When
And
you
it's
say
not
in
long.
the night, it's more early, very early morning. Is that right that you
Well, it
suggest?
depends when you go to sleep. But between 1 and 4 a.m., and then you can sleep more afterwards. It's mid-sleep for a reason. You wake up, you do an hour or 2 hours of the practice, and then you sleep some more before you get up for your day. So whether it's 1 or 4 a.m. or 2 or 3, it depends on your schedule and when you went to bed. So it's good to go to bed
Not too
so
late.
not too late, so you will give your body time to sleep for 4 hours. 4 hours is a good amount of sleep so that the body starts producing the right chemistry for this practice. So that supports the chemistry in the body supports this experience. We produce DMT. It stimulates the pineal gland, the third eye, and so there are all different biological reasons to do that in the middle of the night. But from the spiritual perspectives, the monks of all traditions do their practices in the wee hours of the night or the morning. Usually around 3 o'clock, they get up in the morning and start doing their practices because it's considered to be the divine time when the ears of divinity are open. The truth is that we're just in the right state of being to access it. I think the ears of divinity are open always, but our bodies are in the way of that. So it helps to do this in the middle of the night.
In your book, you also talk about a grounding practice. Do you mind just sharing a little bit of that for the audience?
Yes, the ground and practice is very important because once you launch and your Kundalini wakes up and when the Kundalini energy wakes up, it burns away the filters that were installed within the human body vehicles to block us. So everything gets unblocked. A lot gets unblocked anyway. And people feel disoriented, people feel out of focus, people feel dizzy or having all kinds of challenges. So it's important in the everyday life. It all gels back to normal. You just learn to live in a different state of being is what happens. But grounding is very important. If you're doing the practice in the middle of the night, you need to make sure that you dedicate at least 15 minutes in the morning to ground yourself back into this reality, back into the body, feet on the ground, if the weather permits, and just sitting without any technology, connecting with nature if that's available, slowly observing, just pulling yourself back into the body, observing every detail of everything. If you can't do that, then there are grounding mats. Sleeping on the grounding mat is a very good idea. It's a good idea for all kinds of health reasons, but for this, it's very helpful as well. So ground and practice is a part of this. Once you begin your nighttime meditations with the breath work, you have to add ground and practice to your day so that you can continue functioning in the normal manner. It's not going to feel the same as you were before, but it will help you to function. I mean, I function perfectly fine
Well,
running.
you look
Running.
amazing, but yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Many people say that this life is a school, it's a school of life, and we need to reincarnate to grow and evolve and learn lessons. That is not your view.
That is the disinformation that they bring from the afterlife dimension. The afterlife dimension, where the simulation produced or holographic beings or the archons, either or, show up and tell us that they convince the souls in that dimension that this is what the earth experience is for. You need to go back, and that will help your soul evolve, and it will make you grow, and you will learn all these lessons through incredible pain, and that would help you graduate this level and then go to the next planet when you will have to keep doing the same. So it makes no sense whatsoever, because these lessons are set up in that afterlife dimension with the agreement of the soul by the archonic structure. And then you go to earth, you don't remember any of this, but you bring with yourself the belief that I think started circulating in the New Age and other teachings through regressions. Because when people are regressed in the quantum healing hypnosis sessions, they talk about this memory. They talk about being in the afterlife dimension where they were convinced that they are going to earth to learn lessons and to progress and grow and to evolve. But if you have ever tapped a toe into the fabric of the soul, that energy of the absolute is your soul. That's what we are innately. You will know that there are no lessons that need to be learned. Everything is already there. That whole idea is the foundation of what keeps us reincarnating. It's a foundational concept of disinformation that is being fed into the human subject so that we would greet our suffering with joy and say, yay, oh my God, it was terrible, but I learned so much. And so that's, I posit that that is a part of the system of belief that keeps us passive and keeps us agreeing for more of experiences that simply just produce loosh for the handlers.
So how did we get here in our human incarnation in the first place?
Well, at the beginning of I don't know for other people, but I
That's a
know
hard
for
question. Sorry, but
no, no, no. For myself, I remember being recruited here. I remember that I was lured into Earth from a different reality, and then I ended up uh, in this reality, in the physicality, because I believed that this world needed help and that I could help. I think that it's an active recruitment campaign that's happening uh, through the archonic structure that is collecting more and more of the light beings or the advanced souls, because once they come into Earth, the suffering, especially the first couple lifetimes, the suffering is so intense, they're so uncomfortable that it's the juiciest, most high quality loosh that they can get. And that's how the population on Earth keeps growing, not to mention the NPCs that are being produced, but the population of the ones that come from outside of the Earth plane and join this system, that keeps growing because we're being actively recruited, duped into joining the Earth experience. That's what I believe, and I remember agreeing. I remember saying, "Oh wow, this world really needs help. Let me go and join this world." I had no idea that I couldn't get out. I felt very strong, and I felt that I'm just gonna go and help and get out. But in my case, it's been centuries of incarnations here, and it's only this lifetime that I'm finally remembering the whole story. So they milked me pretty good so far. But
gosh,
the
it's
children,
suffering in this human. It can be deep, deep suffering.
always,
And that is
always,
a food for an
yes.
energetic sustenance, as you said.
Exactly, exactly that, exactly that. But the children, the new children, there are many children nowadays that remember this. They remember saying that, oh wow, we were told in the afterlife that go to Earth and just play, or it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be, and we're coming here to help, and it's gonna be easy. And the I've heard a few podcasts with women who were sharing about their children talking about this until the age of 7 or 8, and then they just lose it, they forget. But um, saying that, oh, there was never a small print in there saying that, oh, you're gonna go and not just help and not just play, but it's going to be tremendously challenging and very difficult. One of these people mentioned that her daughter said that that the way she feels right now is as if she was promised a luxurious resort on Earth, but she found herself in a roach motel where she has to clean floors and stuff. That was kind of like a um, metaphor that that child gave, because she remembered the feeling with which she was inspired to go into Earth, because she was told or she was convinced by the afterlife reality that this is what was going to happen, and then finding out the hard way that it's not at all the case here. So yeah, that's how we all
Should we
ended up
be
here.
afraid?
Afraid of what?
Well, people may be watching this and thinking, I'm afraid, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What's your advice? Because, you know, one of the greatest fears in this world is the fear of death.
Right. Okay. So I think we have two questions here. So should I be afraid of being on Earth, or should I be afraid of living within this reality that milks me for, like a farm animal? I have a positive message for that. The good news is that our reality, be that a simulation or whatever it is flexible. If we wake up, we are able to influence that reality, and we're able to carve a bubble of reality for ourselves that is significantly better than that of our neighbors. And for that, we will need to do the inner healing work, and we need to raise our vibration, our frequency, and be in a whole different set of frequencies and state of being, so we become a match to a different set of reality. So the good news is that the simulation is flexible. Call it simulation of our reality, or the structure, matrix structure. It's flexible. It is possible to create your own beautiful experience here, beautiful enough where the suffering is not so acute, where the wobble is soft rather than, oh my God, up and down, terrible, terrible, awful, a moment of joy, awful, awful, awful. That's the experience of most people. But it is possible to influence that, but we have to take charge, and we have to take the steps towards making a difference in our lives. That's one. That's the answers to, should you be afraid of living here because you are within the structure. As for the fear of death, it literally is a liberation. Oh my God, no more pain, no more emotional pain, no more struggle, suffering of any sort. Even if a person ends up in a simulation, even if a person ends up in the afterlife dimension, it is still significantly lighter than what we have going on in our physicality, because the afterlife dimension is set up to be beautiful and light and easy, and people are so impressed by their near-death experiences that they praise the afterlife experience simply because they no longer carry all that weight on their shoulders. So it isn't the end at all. People are terrified of the end. It's not the end at all. It is a transition into a different state of being, that where you're going to feel significantly better than even the best feeling person does on earth. So I would suggest to look at these beliefs and sit with these beliefs. And of course, we have the instinct, there's the terror of death. That's our instinctual response. The body responds instinctually to that. But what we experience depends on our perspective. And so creating a new perspective on what goes on when you pass, regardless of whether you jump out of the structure or go back into the layers of the structure. So dependent on regardless of that, creating a new set of beliefs for yourself where you know that it's not the end and it's actually a liberation will help with the fear of death.
That's comforting. Thank you, Isabella. In your book, you talk about pets in the afterlife and pets. What happens to our dear loved pets?
Well, pets go with us. Pets, quite a few of these beings came with us from elsewhere. I did sessions for people who asked me about their pets, and we found that their pets came from the same star system as themselves and just took a different type of body to incarnate into. And many of these have been companions for the human subject for centuries, just coming back as a dog, and next life as a horse, and next life as a cat, but animal incarnations, and sometimes into human forms as well. So it doesn't seem like there is much of a difference as to what type of body you take on, because once you come into the earth structure, the souls that take on animal bodies, they are with us. They are within the same system. They're within the same simulation. They're within the same cycle of repeating their lives over and over. But they accompany us. It's a part of your soul group. So it is very comforting for the human to know that, oh my God, my dog just passed. Wait a couple of years, and that dog, that same soul, is going to return to you, possibly in a different form, but exactly like find you again to continue being your companion. So in that way, the humans are comforted by the idea that their dear loved beloved pets return with them and continue this whole journey with them.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Gosh, Isabella, incredible, incredible, amazing, profound insights. And I just love all your experiences and what you've shared with the audience. I'm just, my brain's just thinking about everything you've said. But on a final note, is there anything you would like to share with the Passion Harvest audience that I haven't asked you?
Well, the message of empowerment is very important here, I think, because in the New Age tradition, current day tradition, we are supposed to be all love and lighty all the time, and oh, we're not looking at this because it's bad or it's scary or whatever reasons. But when you know the truth, it gives you a choice. It gives you the state of empowerment because you found out the truth, and then you can do something about it. If we don't look at things, if we avoid, if we hit our head in the sand, then the cycle continues. But if we learn and find out what truly goes on, we can take a perspective as follows. We're already in it. Can do nothing about it. We're already in it. It's like a fish in a fish bowl. Let's make that fish bowl as pretty, as comfortable, as clean as possible. Do your inner work. Create the bubble of reality that is better than your neighbors, that is incredible, that will ripple out to others, help others, be the best version of yourself. All of that is possible, and all of that will give you the highest possible experience on earth, and it will also help others, and it will also help you get out of the reincarnation cycle if you decide to do so. And you have that power, you have that choice. So what we do with ourselves is up to us, and we all have the power to give ourselves a better reality within the structure, within the matrix, within the simulation, and then escape it or jump out of it at the end if we put a little effort into it. That's the key. But the idea is we're not helpless. We don't need a savior. It's up to each individual to take charge of the experience here and to make it the best they can, and then to either decide to continue or to decide to get out. And we are that powerful.
Yay, thank you so much. Oh, where is the best place for people to connect with you? And I will leave a link below in the show notes as well. Please share with the audience where they can connect with you.
I have opened the online school, thevoidacademy.net, where I offer a course, How to Exit Reincarnation course. I offer online classes, and then the replays of these classes, people can get that as well. And the whole purpose of that is to give the people the tools and the information that they're seeking so that they can start training and they can start preparing their minds and they can tell the difference between the true void and the simulation, and they can prepare themselves for the side effects. And so everything that I talk about in my books, that is also in classes, but I really train, I help people to get ready to, I give them everything that I know, everything, the whole package of information and tools to train and prepare to get out of their incarnation cycle if this is what they want to do. And all of the information is on thevoidacademy.net.
Isabella Greene, thank you so much for being on Passion Harvest. Incredibly interesting. Again, welcome back again. Thank you so much.
Louisa, it's a pleasure. Thank you for your beautiful, profound questions, and thank you for having me on the show. It's wonderful to see you.
Oh, my pleasure and lots of love.
Thank you, Louisa.
Bye-bye.
Bye.